let's move over to another American car company, since this is a town and city. That
Yeah.
So there's a company called Tesla.
What? Who?
Yeah. And actually, we have a Tesla on our. It's my wife's car, but once in a while I get in. It's a very fast golf cart.
It's not your primary vehicle, though, is it?
No,
it's like your third car.
Yeah.
Well, for you, it's probably your 30th car.
No,
but
we're all American cars here in Detroit. And you know what? And I just get a little nauseous because when you go really fast, like 0 to 60 and whatever it is, but there's no engine sound and there's no gears.
Yeah,
it's like you're on a roller coaster or a golf cart.
So a little whoosh.
Yeah. So it gets a little crazy for me. So give us your thoughts. This guy's he's
an icon for this bull market.
Right, and he's building cars and in automated vehicles. It's going to turn into soon, and he's got space stuff going on.
Yeah,
I don't know. He wants to go to Mars.
That's his goal.
I mean, I thought Mars sucks. I mean, you look at Mars. Mars sucks. I mean, Mars is like -80. There's nothing there. It's just red stone dust.
Right.
Why do we want to go to Mars? We'll get into that later.
Right.
So, talk to us about Tesla. You're not.
I'm not a fan. No, I'm not a fan. So, Tesla, to me, every bull market has sort of its poster children for the bull market, both good and bad. And I believe Tesla is one of the bad ones for this market. And the reason for that is that Elon Musk has succeeded in a public vehicle to keep selling a dream. And when the dream becomes a little bit mundane, he sells you the next dream. But he's raising lots and lots of money. This is not an Amazon. This is a company that's in a capital-intensive business, auto OEM, no matter what he tells you, and is struggling. And they lose money selling the $100,000 vehicles. They're having problems getting the mid-priced vehicle out, and it's not mid-priced. It's actually closer to $60,000, as you can order the Model 3 today. And of course, the response now is to tell you he's got a semi coming out in 2019 and a Roadster coming out in 2020. Both of those, I believe, are not true, in my opinion. He would have to have the production lines already approved for those. They're not approved anywhere that we can find. So it's very doubtful he's going to have that semi out in 2019. Yet he's out raising money, both in the form of deposits and most likely a future stock or bond offering on those sorts of promises. And
is he already? Was he at $300-something a share right now?
Yeah, almost 350.
Why isn't he raising equity all the time?
I don't know. He will be, I think. And then finally, you had stuff like the Solar City acquisition, which just really was unbelievably bad corporate governance. So he owned a big chunk of Solar City. We were short it. Solar City, in our opinion, was going bankrupt. The model of rooftop solar leasing has moved on to distributed solar. They got the market wrong. The stock was plummeting. The bonds were yielding over 20%. And out of the blue, he decides that Tesla should buy Solar City for $8 billion in assumed debt and stock. For those of you that are financial people, Solar City at the time was losing $300 million in negative EBITDA a year before the debt service and depreciation. And he basically saved his own equity investment by having Tesla buy him out, which I just think is abhorrent. And was
how did the board approve that?
The board approved it, and the shareholders approved it, and without much of a blink, because A, he controls the board, and B, the shareholders believe pretty much anything he tells them. And that to us was sort of a real sign that this thing had taken a dark turn. Now, I mentioned to you the Enron executive departures. We keep a list of the Tesla executive departures that we see. He doesn't disclose them, but we find them via LinkedIn, and people send us. And it's a spreadsheet now that goes a full 2 pages over the past couple of years of all the senior people that have left Tesla. They've got there, saw what's happened, and obviously went out. There's something wrong there. And on top of that, you look at the accounting, and then finally, my own prediction, based on nothing more than seeing guys like this operate, I think he's going to leave Tesla within a couple of years.
You mean himself leave Tesla?
I think he's going to move over to SpaceX.
What percent does he own of Tesla?
He has it's actually a reasonable amount. It's about $10 billion, $20 billion.
Is he selling stock right now himself?
His family is. He's not. Although he cashed out some for his foundation a year or so ago. But I think he will start selling stock once he becomes the non-executive chairman. And my own view is he'll just sort of leave it to his number 2, and he'll be able to say later, well, it was fine when I left it, But if you look at the latest Rolling Stone cover story of him a month ago.
Is that a magazine still, Rolling Stone? No, I mean, see, it's not online only? Can you buy the
I think
magazine?
you get it online. I think you get.
You can still buy the magazine.
I remember you used to buy it at Michigan State. You probably used to buy it.
No, but we also bought a magazine,
Okay.
Rob Report. You probably read it when you
Rob Report. Well, I can't afford that stuff,
No,
but
that's-
it's aspirational. I see
no,
it.
but
But anyway, so if you go online or go to the head shops or wherever you can get Rolling Stone, I don't know. The cover story and all the glossy photos are him at SpaceX, not at Tesla. Him with a space helmet, him on top of like a centerfold on top of a rocket. And that was very telling to me. But if you go inside, they're all rock. And I think he's getting the world ready for the lateral move over to SpaceX. His dream is to go to Mars. I think Tesla's heading for a brick wall. I think that makes a lot of I've seen guys like this before. He's going to hit the parachute before the shareholders do.
Maybe before he hits Mars, hopefully. So I have just two, and I think we're down like to a minute or so.
Yeah,
before
went fast.
you have a Q&A session, right? I noticed one comment and just two questions. The comment I noticed is I've had the luxury or the honor of also interviewing the mirror image other side of you, but that would be Warren Buffett and these kinds of interviews. But what I noticed is you guys are basically the same. I mean, the way you do the work, you're doing the work. You can hear it and everything that's coming out. You're doing the work, going deep, 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 and you stick to you're ignoring the noise, sort of pushing things aside and sticking. There's not much different between
about $100 billion. Though.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, that adds up. You get to So, the other quick question, and I meant to ask this earlier, and this to me is just I don't know, something doesn't fit with this in the markets. Is that why are we at all-time highs on everything?
Right.
And we have the least amount of IPOs and people going public and companies going public.
That's a good question.
I mean, that really is something's not right there.
So I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the private markets have gotten very robust, Dan. So founders and venture capitalists and things like WeWork and Uber and all these unicorns really can buy now and sell shares in these liquid private markets. So that's helped. And I think that a lot of them just simply because of that, because they have the liquidity events now in the private markets, that was the allure, right? They didn't necessarily want the public. They don't want to file. They don't want to deal with people like me. And so why not stay private as long as they can keep getting funding? And that's.
But aren't they under pressure? I mean, if you're a venture capitalist, so these guys
Right.
that come in, I mean, your end for most of it is let's get you public,
Right, and get out, right?
Get out.
But
So-
now if I'm Kleiner Perkins, SoftBank will buy my stake, right? I don't have to file it, right? Or Alibaba will buy my stake, or there's all these big buyers now, these pools of capital, sovereign wealth funds, who will actually, instead of the public, they've become kind of, dare I say it, the dumb money, and are buying the stakes from the venture and the executives. I mean, SoftBank has a document out saying that they have a 300-year time frame. Like, if you read it, it's almost gibberish. But, people are like, oh, my God, he's a visionary. And so go read it. It's online. I urge you, read the SoftBank sort of statement and from Mayoshi-san and tell me it's not gibberish.
Well, 300 years, was that 1717? Is that, I'm trying to think of 300 years ago. Do I have it right? 1717?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like 40 years before Washington was born.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Stuff can happen.
You would have a few different forks in the road on that one, right?
Yeah. That's just, so
they found buyers. And so who needs the sort of scrutiny that public companies get if you get the liquidity in the private markets and you can stay private?
So do you think removing Dodd-Frank or making it easier? I mean, I'll just tell you from our own experience of whether or not our flagship, we wouldn't even fathom the thought. We wouldn't even have the thought of going public for that reason only, right? Why would you want to waste everybody's time?
And if you don't need to, why would you?
Yeah, and everything else.
I think.
Do you think that? I mean, at least I can't speak for.
And also, the debt markets have gotten easier for private companies to access, and so
not mid-American business, right?
But larger companies, and so I think there's a fair amount of reasoning, and then of course the public. Money is burning a hole in their pockets, so they've discovered Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's true.
So we've got the outlet there.
So just one or two last things. We'll put, is that all right? Got the Q&A session will be big here, you know. What do you say when people say to you about these shorts? And I did it to you, and you had a great answer. Yeah, but what about Amazon? Everyone said they're short them too.
Yeah.
What's the difference? You had a great answer.
So when I started out on Wall Street, I was in investment banking in Chicago, and I was at Blythe Eastman Payne Weber. Our biggest account was McDonald's. So I had this junior guy to immerse myself in the history of McDonald's. And by the way, if you haven't seen the movie The Founder, go see it. It's really a good business movie. And it covers some of what made McDonald's unique, which was McDonald's figured out the realty model. They're in the real estate business, not the hamburger business. And for years in the 70s and 80s, any consumer company that was kind of getting some growth and looked like it could be this monster company, people say it's the next McDonald's. And I always used to say, you know, grumble on Beth, there was no next McDonald's. And nowadays, when you get confronted with a sort of questionable business model like a Tesla or whatever, where you can sort of model out it just doesn't work, right? They're a car company, it loses money. Some will say, yeah, but you could have said that about Amazon, right? I get that all the time. And so I decided to look back at Amazon. And I remembered it from the late 90s, but I went back and recently just did a deep dive into the financial history of Amazon. And what I found was the following. Amazon went public in 1997. Their last public offering was in 2001. They've been free cash flow positive every single year since 2001. But the really intriguing thing was, until 2012, when they got into the AWS, basically the cloud, they had no capital in their business. Quite literally, we financed them through their retail model, that if you bought books or clothes or whatever, you paid them up front, and they paid their suppliers in 30 or 60 or 90 or 180 days. And basically, like Dell Computer, that financed their plant and equipment. And so for years, Amazon, you know, really didn't make any money, but I kept saying they don't have any capital in the business, right? It's the ultimate efficient machine. Once they started investing in AWS and more warehouse, they started making a profit. The money followed the investment, and I know that's one of your dictums. And so there really isn't been a business model like this. Alibaba doesn't have this business model. eBay doesn't have this business model. And so there is no next Amazon. And for someone to say that a Tesla, which is capital intensive, tons of debt, raises stock and bond offerings every 3 to 6 months.
As a guy who's going to Mars.
As a guy who's going to Mars, whatever, you know, and by the way, Bezos is too, interestingly enough. Yeah, he's got his own rocket company. Yeah. So it was a unique animal. And same with Apple. People say, oh, you could have said that about Apple. Well, no. Apple has 40% gross margins in the consumer products business. You know, and Tesla's gross margins are 18%. And so, you know, down the line, and the problem is a lot of these statements don't hold up. When you actually go back and analyze and understand what made Amazon unique, you realize it was unique. And that for everyone to say, I'm going to justify any valuation, $60 billion on Tesla, or whatever it might be, because it's the next Amazon, good luck.
Schecter, I understand that Schecter's changing their name just to Schecter. Is that accurate? Not Schecter this, Schecter that, just Schecter. Sort of like Madonna, Cher, Sting, Eminem, covers it all. But you guys, I mean, it's, you know, I would like to just thank you for bringing someone like Jim here, and I think you're doing great stuff. And,
thank you.
Connecting, that's just fantastic. So, you know.